Hello, everybody. Welcome to the April 29th io.js TC meeting. I'm Chris Dickinson behind the Jupiter. And with us we have Ben, Bert, Brian, Dominic, Fyodor, Jeremiah, Shigeki, and Trevor. Rod is not here right now, so I will be running the meeting. Just to get started, we will do a quick review of last meeting. We nominated people to the TC. Let's see. It looks like we nominated Jeremiah, Michael, Brian, Shigeki. I think that's everybody. So I think for the time being, Brian and Shigeki and, if I'm not mistaken, Michael are sitting in. And that's sort of the process we usually have people sit in before becoming full members. Other than that, we discussed upgrading to V8 4.2 and whether or not we're ready for it. As a spoiler, we were, and then that happened. Combined io.js, Node.js TC core call. I think we touched on that a little bit. I'm not sure where we ended up. It seems like there's going to be one tomorrow, so same time as the TC call today. And dipping io.js in the Node.js Foundation, Michael ran through, was kind enough to put together notes on how the two are different and run through them for us. So to start off, we'll just do a quick stand-up. So if Ben would like to get us started.
Same as last week, I did virtually nothing. Bert, what about you?
Sorry, yes, I have the same issue. I'm also currently working on internal projects, so I didn't really do a lot. Next would be Brian.
I mostly worked on the same kind of stuff as last week. I more or less has finished at least the last of the optimizations I can find for the JavaScript HTTP parser, and I posted a few questions for the collaborators in the TC on that PR. And other than that, mostly working on other miscellaneous improvements in the various HTTP core libraries, trying to get them to perform a little bit quicker. And that's about it for me. Chris is next.
So last week I worked on upgrading V8 and documenting the process. I have a branch that starts off a subtree called internal for internal documentation of architecture and standard operating procedures. Also did some work on the REPL to make sure that when people start up the new io.js that has classes in it, the REPL will have support classes immediately. I think after me is Dominic.
All right. I recall I did a few PR reviews for going up to 2.0, and I'm starting to work on some V8 extension stuff with the team here, which I think could let us improve startup time by quite a bit, at the very least. So I'll probably file an issue with my findings sometime later this week.
Can you explain, just out of curiosity, like what are you doing? What kind of extension are you working on, or what's the idea?
Yeah, I mean, so basically the idea is that V8 has these snapshots of like pre-compiled code, sort of, and you can just bake that into the embedder. I'm doing it for Blink or Chromium, but we could probably do it too, so that it just immediately reads it and gets it into memory all instead of having to read it all off disk. So I don't know exactly how it'll apply. I'm doing it for streams in Chromium, but I think it could work pretty well for us too.
All right, cool, thanks. Next would be Fedor, I guess.
Yeah, hello. I think I was working on fixing some TLS memory footprint stuff. So with these fixes, it seems that we are having quite lower memory usage with a client request without keep alive option, and it seems that it is a big improvement. So I'm going to work further on it to make it land as soon as possible in the master branch and be backported to the 1.x branch. Also, I was working on some stream-based TLS wrap bug, and I think I have fixed it. And other than that, probably I didn't really do anything else except probably reviewing some PRs and fixing some other minor issues. So the next should be Jeremiah? No?
I've worked on some issue management and have also been looking more into the idea of moving NPM out of the core repo, which discussions seem to have gone towards keeping it in the repo but working on a tool that can basically update our dependencies and apply patches to them easier than we could by hand. So I'm looking into that now. And the next would be Michael.
We're skipping Michael due to tethering. So skipping to Shigeki.
Yeah, I'm working on the SSL issues. I finished all the ALPN implementations, and I look up the root cert update, and I found that the Chrome and the Firefox was some special treatment for the China NIC. So I think I need to work this China NIC whitelist to implement it in io.js or not. If someone has an opinion to work this one, so I will implement it. Can you understand?
Yeah. So what does it do, or what do Firefox? What does Firefox do?
Yeah, they had a white list of the hash of all the certificates issued by the China NIC, and checking every time on the handshake the server certificate is matching with their whitelist. It's not much, so they reject the accepting of the connections.
Okay.
So just to be sure, we're talking about old certificates like 1024 bits CAs or about what?
I'm sorry, I can understand.
Yeah. Okay, so could you please repeat what we are talking about? The certificates or?
Yes, certificate of sub-certificates for the verifying of the root cert from the server certificate to the root cert.
Okay, yeah, I got it. So Firefox is using whitelist for this to make sure that no new certificates with the old certificate chain will pass through it, right? And you're suggesting to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. I put the blog of this one, the Firefox.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not one of the agendas, so I will talk with you later. So please go on while reporting.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, let's
Thanks.
follow up on it after the call.
I think next up is Trevor.
Hey. Looking over bugs, working on a streams implementation for the API compliance working group. Post that PR, which I the HR time FP, which I now see is problematic in its own right. So I'm just going to make my own module for it. That's about it.
Cool. So without further ado, getting into today's agenda. We have 4 things on the agenda to talk about today. Just to list them off beforehand, we're going to talk about the V2 release proposal, which was put forward by Rod. And I might ask Dominic to talk about it a little bit too, if that's okay with him. Um, we're also going to talk about forward porting from V1X versus backporting to V1X. We're going to talk about the convergence plan. There's been a pull request to talk about how we're going to merge projects. And we will touch on the combined Node.js, io.js, TC core call, and any updates on that. So to get started, the release proposal for V2. Dominic, would you mind talking about this a bit?
Sure. I mean, there is a proposal. The biggest change, I would say, is the V8 upgrade, which has landed on master, and there were several other major things that we've been hoping to get in. But at this point, I'm starting to get wary of the just wait a few more days and then it'll be ready, which seems to have led us to being 2 weeks into the 5 or 6 week V8 upgrade cycle already, which is sad. But in particular, the ones that I recall off the top of my head are process.send on Windows, fixing that behavior, which has been in the known issues list for forever, and also the URL parser speed improvements and slate semantic changes. So my opinion is that we should set a deadline. We released an RC today, and we should try and get that on the website as soon as possible. I opened an issue, but I don't think there was any movement on that. But after it's been on the website for a few days, and if nobody reports any major bugs, I think we should say something like we want to ship by Wednesday, or already Wednesday, by Friday. That's what I think. Otherwise, we're going to get 1 week away from a new V8 release, and then we're going to be like, oh, let's just wait another week, and then we'll get V8 4.3, and then not good.
Yeah, I agree with your sentiment, Dominic. I wonder though, I think there are two things sort of waiting to be landed. One of it is the Windows process.send thing, which if I understand it correctly, Ben, which are ready and can be landed.
Except that tests don't pass on Windows, or at least the CI complains.
Right. Okay.
And personally, I don't think it should hold up the release because it's been broken for ages. You can even argue that it's not really, well, it's a regression, but it's not really a bug. So yeah, don't let it hold up the release. It compiles, ship it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not a regression even. It's a change, but.
Yeah. I think the mental model that we want to have for these releases, especially given the V8 policy that we kind of decided on last week or so, is that they're a train, right? And there's a train leaving the station every 6 weeks, and we don't hold up the train for whatever comes in. If you miss the train, then you get on the next train. So if process.send isn't ready in time for this release, we'll just make sure it's ready in time for 3.
I agree. Does anyone disagree?
All right, so process.send slips. I think we can agree on that. And the URL parser improvements that Petka Antonov has done. What's the status of this? I might just land it after this.
Yeah, I think he's still working on it. And
so actually, I thought he was, but then he opened a new PR, and I looked over it, and most of the issues that I'd noted were addressed. So we might want to get an update from him. It might be merge ready. But yes, if not, then it misses the train.
There's even a CI run for it, and it passes on all platforms except for ARM 7 Wheezy, which I suppose is not.
That's the timeout issue that's just comes up every so often.
But do we want to land such a big change right before release? Seems kind of hazardous.
Should we do another RC? Is it a lot of work to do an RC?
I think it's kind of the point of doing big changes right before release, right? That's what 2.0.1 are for, is if we break something.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we do want to put out an RC, I think we can just link to the CI build and say this is the new RC, and leave it out for a day or two.
So,
But also, sorry, In the run-up to 1.0, I remember we had this discussion about RCs, and like kind of the consensus, which I've come around to, is nobody actually tests RCs. You just have to release 2.0, and if it breaks something, then we will release 2.0.1 very quickly, and the early adopters will be the ones who test it, and that's how it works. So RCs seem nice in theory, but especially since we're already late, I'm not sure they add as much value
If
right
we
now.
can make a quick clarification, you said earlier process.send wouldn't make it till 3.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not ready in time for 2, then it goes in 3.
Well, why not? Like, I always thought that the major was for major changes. Adding a piece of functionality, unless I'm misunderstanding process.send, that seems like minor version capable.
It's a breaking change,
It's a
technically.
breaking change in the behavior of process.send.
Okay.
Yes.
So for posterity, someone noted that we're going to need a consistent way to hold on to some of our major changes prior to the next major if we want to keep up this pace. I think the way we're going with that is Ben's created a next branch, and I think we should start just landing things, some of our major changes in the next branch from here on out, and just recutting that next branch every time we do a major. I'm not sure if there's any.
That was actually going to be my next question. Is after we release 2, are we going to cut a 2-branch? Master becomes 3, and then, I mean, all fairness, it seems like we should immediately merge 4.3 so we can start testing on it.
So the plan is, once we release 2, master will be 2. There will be a V1X branch, and next will be what goes into V3, and that's where the new V8 changes will land. Once we cut a 3.0, we cut a V2X branch.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I always thought master was going to be the latest changes, and now master is the latest stable.
Master is the latest major version we're working on, whatever the latest major version we're working on is. So right now, the latest major version we're working on is the 2.0 line, and we don't cut a branch for old lines until we release a new line. Because otherwise, there would be a V2X branch, and master would be.
It kind of makes sense if you think of master as like where most people are working, because most people should be working on 2x, the current, but then a few people are going off and be like, hey, my feature's big and breaking enough, it needs to go in 3x, next.
To me, it only makes sense to get around the GitHub PR issue that once you cut it, all your PRs are screwed up.
So Michael notes that master is current, and where new features land, the only thing that actually lands in the next branch would be breaking changes. They can only be landed just before a major release.
Yeah. Well, no, they can always be landed, but they would be landed in the next branch. So
Yeah,
I think like if we had this policy in January, what would have happened is we would not have a V1X branch at that time. We would have worked on master, and right now would have been the time to cut a V1X branch because we're about to, to release 2, which will be master.
Yep.
Does that make any sense?
No,
That's correct.
we really need to fix our little issue of, I mean, I had a PR semi-recently that couldn't get merged until a specific time because of the way the release schedule worked. In my mind, that means the way we're merging and releasing is broken. When a PR is ready, there should be a place to merge it.
Yes, and Trevor, there used to be no such place, but this new policy, there is one. So if you make a breaking change, it goes in next. If you add.
You cut out, Bert.
Oop, now he's gone.
And we lost.
To rephrase what Bert was saying, if you make a breaking change, it should land in next. If you make a non-breaking change, it should land in master. If you make any other change to land in master, then we backport to the.
That doesn't address the minor changes like additive APIs.
That they should land in master.
But will master never have bug fix releases? And
what master becomes, so the point that we do bug fix releases on master is after we've released a new major version. So master at that point, whatever's on master becomes v2x.
Yeah, so master is basically latest stable.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Now, say there's a bug fix that needs to be released. Like, say there's yet another SSL thing that needs to be released that we need to blow it out immediately. Do we momentarily cut a tiny branch for that release, add that patch, and then merge that back into master? Because with what you're saying, if I had committed a couple things, like additive API changes, and then you go to release that critical bug fix, you would have had to have released a minor along with the patch.
That seems fine.
That's what we would do at present.
No, enterprises won't buy that. Like, I remember this a month and a half ago with a couple of companies. We with Node, like big enterprises don't like when there's a critical bug fix. They want a patch version that only contains that one patch, so they can blow it out more quickly.
I mean, that seems like a thing for the LTS group. If you're saying that the LTS group needs to maintain every minor release as well as every major, then that's good feedback for them.
I tend to agree with what Dominic is saying, that at that point they're probably using an LTS release, which falls under the LTS working group. So they're probably not using cutting edge master. They're probably using whatever latest LTS release there is, at which point we can land patch releases on that. Though this might be better to discuss in an issue, just so you can get a textual representation.
Yeah, you're right. This has snowballed, and I'm sorry I derailed it so much. Let's continue.
No worries.
So along with 2.x, and this actually also relates to the next issue that's on there, is there was 2 changes that aren't specific to the 1.x branch that were landed in 1.x that we should probably move to master. So I have a PR opened to forward port them to master, but we should clarify what our plan is basically for the current quote-unquote LTS strategy. If we are going to land everything in master and then backport fixes.
Okay, so that starts the next issue on the agenda. Does anyone have any opinions about this? Take it from the silence that no. So the process that I proposed in the bump major version was that we would land all changes for the current stable, whether they be minor changes or patch changes, on master, and then backport patches as needed. And the reason I had behind this was it's going to be easier for a small LTS working group to identify patches that are going into master that need to be backported to LTS releases than it is to get all the knowledge of the LTS working group out to the entire collaborator base and have them always land the patches on the appropriate LTS branch.
I agree with this plan.
Yeah, seems fine to me as well.
It is concrete, it is well defined, and this, how to exactly branch and stuff and merge. We've been debating it for the past couple of months, and this is a concrete plan. Let's just try it out for a while. If it doesn't work, we can always come back to it.
Speaking of which, I made a PR earlier today that is backporting fixes from master, and it was quite easy to identify which things were fixes that should probably go into there. and wasn't much of a hassle.
Great. Okay.
Nice.
So the next item on the agenda is the convergence plan, which was fairly recently added just to discuss.
I don't feel like we came to a conclusion, or maybe it was implicit, but I want to get it down in the minutes. So I think the plan should be that we're trying to release as soon as feasible. We're waiting for Petka to tell us whether his URL thing is ready to land. If he says it is, then we'll include that. If he says it isn't, then it misses the train. But otherwise, we're ready to go. Does that sound right?
Yep, I have the REPL changes that I'd like to land, but they can slip if need be. They just need a +1 from Ben or Piotr.
All right. Well, if those people have time and time to make the train, then we'll do it.
Yep. Cool.
I don't, but maybe Fedor has.
I have. Just mention me on the issue and ask me, and I will do it.
Cool. Will do. So the consensus is that whatever can make it for the train makes it to the train. We're looking at what release on Friday. Is that acceptable, or do we want to do as soon as possible, Thursday?
Friday seems fine to me.
And then people will deploy it on Friday, and that'll be great.
Okay, so Friday is the deadline. We'll plan on releasing them, and yeah. Okay, so the next bit of the agenda was the convergence plan. Is there anyone that feels like they can talk about this? From silence, I'm guessing no. I think we'll probably just punt on this until next meeting, unless anyone has any strong opinion.
So this should come up tomorrow at the combined TSC call. It'd be nice if those who have time here could give it a look over. It's not too long. And that is what is the issue? It's in the dev policy repo, which is, let me find the link. It is nope, can't find it. Oh, there we go. Jasnal /dev policy /pull/66 on GitHub. The link will be in the TC meeting notes.
Yeah, thanks. So, just practically speaking, I haven't gotten an invite for tomorrow's combined TC call. Did you guys get any?
They've been appearing in spam.
Oh yeah, you received an invite for a doodle to fill out.
Yes, I got that, but I don't know if any decision had been made on that.
There was a calendar meeting sent out, but it's been filtered by some people's spam filters.
Let me check.
It was sent to, I believe, both of your emails, Ben and Bert.
Yeah, I've seen Bert on the recipients list, and I got it as well, but I don't have time to attend.
I somehow it must have ended up in my spam, but I can't find it. Can you forward it?
Yeah, I'll forward it to you.
Thanks. I'm gonna join tomorrow, and too bad you can't hear, Ben. But I'll just speak your mind.
Yeah, you do that.
So I think that brings us to the end of our agenda items. I think now is the time for any questions from IRC.
So we got one, and I accidentally answered it in IRC. But for anybody watching now or later, it was, what are the breaking changes in 2.0? And better yet, how could I find that out myself? So the answer for how you could find it out yourself is you could go to the issues and look for things under the 2.0 milestone, or tagged with Semper Major. There's some overlap there. And as far as I'm aware, the breaking changes at this point are all your native add-ons will need to be recompiled because of the V8 upgrades, and the URL parser, objects returned by the URL parser no longer have own data properties. Instead, they're all on the prototype. So in particular, right, like if you if you util._extend it or something similar, _.extend it, whatever, it won't behave the same. Did I miss anything?
I think that's it for now. It's breaking in V2.0.
Usually, don't we have we just maintain a wiki page of stuff like that, so people can just reference it whenever they need it.
That's a good idea. Apart from just the changelog, just like a breaking changes. That's a great idea.
Yeah, quick ref.
Not seeing any other questions in IRC. But if anyone has any questions for the TC, feel free to tweet at official io.js or open an issue on the tracker with the notes that you'd like to have it answered on the TC meeting, and we'll definitely take a look at it there next meeting. I do believe next meeting is, let me get out the calendar. May 6th, probably at the same time. Does that sound good for everyone?
Sounds good for me.
Hey, we got a question.
Ooh, we got a question?
Yeah. I'll repeat it. The question is, are we suggesting that people migrate to NAN to help deal with the V8 changes? And I don't feel qualified to answer that, so.
I, however, do, and my advice would be yes. If you can, use NAN.
When is using NAN not a good idea? When does it not work, Ben?
You would not use NAN or not use NAN for everything if you're using very specific features of the V8 API, like, I don't know, the built-in profile or the debug API, because those are not covered by NAN. But for most everyday usage, it should be fine, and actually it should be the preferred way.
There you have it.
Excellent advice, and it also rhymes, so that makes it even better. If you can, use NAN. Okay, so we have next meeting. Thanks all for joining. See you in a week.
See you in a week.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Bye.
Level 2 of
See you later.
custom. See you later.